So I think
we are live. As you can see, we're out in the vestibule, which means it's not freezing.
I wonder if it'll just be us, like you and me in this.
So we get so busy this time of year that in order for us, as we say in the notes, not to disappear for 6 months, drop off the face of the earth, we figure we start doing this little series. We read it, no edit. So don't forget it, or maybe you do want to forget it, one or the other.
Maybe. But I tend to scroll, like in the morning or late at night, I tend to scroll and I find different things that people have said or their stories or like their little venting situations or just different things that Watchtower is doing. Sometimes I'll read it on Reddit or Facebook or, whatever.
One of the XJW sites.
Yep. So I don't know, maybe we should just start. We didn't want to do very long. We just want to do a test run just so we can kind of get in the groove of things and learn how to do a live because we've never done a live before.
So that's very interesting in and of itself. All right. So what do you got? First thing, and again, it doesn't matter if it's a live because you can just go back and watch it anytime. It'll still be out there as a video, but it's just something fun for us. We don't have to worry about doing an edit, which takes, when you do an edit, you first video it, and then you have to watch it and then cut things out. Then you need to go back and watch it and make sure you didn't forget anything. So
yeah. So who's here? There's like 4 people.
Be very...
I have a thumbs up. I don't know who's here, but it says there's nobody in the chat. Say something in the chat so we know if we're not the only ones.
Or maybe you don't want to.
It says there's 4 watching.
Maybe. Are you sure that's what it means?
Well, then there's 2
likes.
Well,
I see likes up there, so there's something.
I don't know. We're just gonna read this. If you're here, like I said, this is our first time doing a live. We're not really sure what we're doing, but.
All right, so we're just going to read something off one of these random posts, and then we're going to do a little commentary if you want to add something in the chat, if we've got it set up that way. Again, we don't know what we're doing. You can always contact us on unassignedvlog at gmail.com just to say whatever.
Okay. So this is just one that I found. So I think this is on Facebook.
You don't have to say where it came from. Otherwise,
all right. I suppose I don't have to. I kind of already
Otherwise, we might rat out somebody. We're going to try to edit out names and whatever.
It says anonymous member, so this person didn't have a name. But this does say, can elders disfellowship you without meeting with you? I'm inactive and have no plans on going back, but have been going to occasional meetings for my family's sake. Long story. One of my family members said that they're worried I'll be disfellowshipped and they won't be able to talk to me anymore and warned against me going to my old congregation. I made the point that I don't think the elders can disfellowship me if I politely refuse to meet with them. Was I wrong to assume that? I've never heard of anyone disfellowship without meeting with the elders. Anyone have experience with this?
So the scenario is basically they're worried about meeting with the elders, not really going to meetings very much, but their parents are worried about they're going to get DF'd.
Yeah. Oh, we do have somebody on here. Thank you for coming to our live.
Yeah.
I disassociated in 2000 after 35 years. Lost my son. Oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm glad you're happy. I hope you're happy.
You're right. Or at least free.
Yeah, at least free. That's a good way. But as far as this is concerned with disfellowshipping, I think just they claim they have a rule book, like the elders manual has rules that they have to follow, but in our situation, which we'll get to soon, very soon, they didn't even follow their rules, I don't think.
Right.
So they can do whatever they want.
That's right. And there is no ramifications for them not following the rule book. If you're being too legalistic about their rule book, you're pulling the Pharisee move on the Pharisees. It's just not going to work. They will do whatever they want.
And I think that if you said,
because they can frame it how they want.
Absolutely. But if they say, no, I don't want to meet with you, excuse me, but they have if you're pulled into a judicial meeting, it's not like we're in this country where you're innocent until proven guilty. It's the opposite. You're guilty until proven innocent, but you can never prove your innocence. You could have all the evidence in the world to say that I'm innocent, but because you've already been pulled in a judicial meeting, they have that meeting, or they want to trump up that meeting. They can for sure disfellowship you without meeting with you because they've already got collectively.
They've got what they need. You're there to be repentant. That's what you're there for.
Thank you.
That's what you're there for when you go to a judicial committee, not to plead your innocence, not to whatever. They've already got you convicted. Now you are pleading for, it's funny, on the back of a citation on a ticket, you have contest, mitigate, so you can fight it. Well, there is not there, that doesn't exist in JW land. You're there to mitigate. That's your I'm guilty, and here's why I did what I did. Please forgive me. Back to the 1984 Orwellian line of thought. It's that we don't really care what you did, just as long as you acknowledge that we are your authority.
For sure.
But I will say, if you're not really going to meetings very often, you probably don't have your foot deep enough into the mud into the pond, so to speak, to where they're going to go after you anyway. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, maybe not. I guess it depends on how, what's the word? I'm not very good with words. How open you are with things that they wouldn't want you to be doing. If you are spreading things around that you shouldn't be spreading, verbally, or some sort of conduct that they found out about, and you were what's the word?
Blatant, brazen conduct.
Flagrant.
Flagrant. Yeah. If you've got that kind of an attitude, then they're going to pull you in.
They'll try to figure out how to get you.
Or if you're pushing a teaching, so to speak. But in our case, we weren't pushing a teaching, and we just had a question that was from Tiff's Bible study. I had a Bible study.
Okay.
Anyway, but again, for that situation, one, you'd have to be in the congregation pretty active in order for them to come after you in the first place.
Yeah.
And for two, if they called you into a judicial, they could disfellowship you just for declining.
Probably.
I would think. If you're playing by the rule books, which they are not required to play by. These are only guidelines for them to follow.
Yeah.
They'll do what they want.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I read this morning and I thought it was interesting. I'm not going to say the bad language in the post. I'll just skip it.
Yes, because my virgin ears cannot handle it.
Well, I know I clicked this is not for kids, but it's not like I go around F-bombing all the time. Well, at least not in public. I'm just going to leave this here and say, damn, this felt so effing good to say back to my father, to finally cut the tie. You don't want to have anything to do with me. Bet I got you, boo-boo. And the text, it was a screenshot.
So you bet I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So the person's father sent the official website to them, and then said, a lot has changed since you left. The memorial is tonight. If you go, you will see such things as brothers wearing beards, people greeting those who are disfellowshipped, sisters wearing slacks, and more. We can now invite you to the memorial and other meetings too. Please consider it. As always, we love you. And the response was, thanks, but no thanks. I'm good.
So this is an actual text conversation between them.
And I thought, way to go to make it simple, first of all. But then I read something.
What do you mean, make it simple?
Their response was simple. They didn't have to go in detail why they didn't want to, there was no sparring going on. You know what I mean?
Just a simple no thanks.
Yeah, just way to go to keep it simple is what I thought,
But I think the commentary they made, I would have liked to seen that go back to the dad, So sure, you've now shunned me for how long? I'm just a sparrer that way. I want people to know what it is. There's nothing worse than getting cold shouldered, disfellowshipped as it were, and then not knowing why. So if you've done something to me, I'm going to tell you, hey, listen, I don't like this or that and the other thing, and here's why I feel that way. And then you can make your decision to say, well, heck with you, I don't care what you think, or to make changes that accommodate the way I feel too. I think that's a responsible conversation. So anyway, I think the statement that they made that, hey, if you're going to shun me and you've done this for this long, and now because some organization tells you that you can talk to me, that now I'm going to come crawling back to you? Nah, that ain't the way it works.
Well, I want to do a video about this, actually, a sit-down video, not just a live, where I am starting to get the vibe with when somebody goes through abandonment or goes through neglect as a child, which I have. So I guess I kind of have a little bit of experience with that. this is kind of the same thing where you're neglected, even as an adult, like you're neglected or you're abandoned by your family, your network, your friends, whatever it is. And it's like the morality of these people who are doing that, it's like they lack the morality. They lack the,
so what you're saying
like,
is
self-awareness almost, that they're letting somebody else make decisions.
In other
them,
words, if somebody
on how
didn't,
they're treating someone.
if somebody didn't tell you don't steal, they would, they might do it anyway. Or somebody told you. In other words, their morality isn't their own. So what's your standard for morality? And we see that a lot of times with people that are disfellowshipped in the first place. They just fly off the handle. And the old illustration goes where if you close your hand around, someone and then you spring it open and they spring out. I think that's the way it is with Watchtower a lot of times at XJWs.
I just think it's a bigger psychological situation I'm talking about with abandonment, though, or neglect, because it's like all of a sudden, oh, what did I say earlier? We were talking about something like this earlier, and I said, it's like every other narcissistic relationship. Like you do something wrong, the narcissist party doesn't really like or appreciate what you did, and it doesn't even have to be anything significant. And then they do something to you, and then they want to bring back flowers, or they want to give you some gift, and then they want everything to be, great again. And it's like, just going back to, I guess what I'm saying is, you're going back to that narcissistic relationship. That's not healthy. It's toxic.
So that's what you were going to read, is that other post then on that one.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah, read that.
Narcissists do not have the ability to self-reflect. They cannot see anything wrong in what they do. They only see fault in your reaction. They believe every argument is caused by you because to them there was no problem with their actions until you reacted to them. They 100% believe you are the problem and they are the victim. So like the people in the organization think that the people that are on the outside of the organization that have left or disfellowship, disassociate or whatever, they're the problems. They're and maybe they didn't even do anything wrong. I know in our case, all we did was ask a question, or had a question we never really actually got to ask.
I remember at one point you posted that just on your Facebook page, something about bullying because you had a Bible study whose child was going through bullying at school. Yeah. You knew that they were on your Facebook, so you just kind of posted that, and it was quite honestly, it was the Watchtower.
Like a whiteboard thing or something?
Whiteboard on bullying. And then all of a sudden, the CO is accusing you of bullying the elders.
The elders. It was, projection.
But that's the same thing, is that so that in that narcissistic attitude, the organization could very well say, yes, that's right, we're the victims, you are the narcissist, because that's that statement of you're the one who's doing everything wrong.
But isn't that what I said? That's projection.
Right. But I mean, you made a statement about that earlier. How do you prove that you're not the one who's being the narcissist then? Because that's the gaslighting part of it.
All I said is I had a question.
Yeah. And then you have to go back then you have to go back to the nuts and bolts of the occasion.
I suppose. I mean, yeah. But I guess it's sad for me to hear all these situations. I have family members that are in the organization have not reached out to me. And it's kind of sad because that would tell me that they view me as an apostate. I don't know if they've seen YouTube, our channel, or if somebody has told them something, or, he's an elder. So, through the grapevine, has he learned something about us? I have no idea. So I guess I'm just trying to say, like, when you have somebody that's in the organization and then all of a sudden, after so many years, sometimes decades, they just want to be in your life. And it's like, hey, I've learned to live without you all this time. What are you here? Who are you? Where have you been?
Yeah. And I suppose that's different than, let's face it, times get busy, you fall away, so to speak, just because of life gets busy for you and them. So there's also that. Yeah,
but if you're a tight-knit
family, I get it. I'm just saying
that's not a barrier.
Right. No. I'm just saying that does happen too. That can be apostasy as well, which is different than the active shunning of you because you no longer, an organization said you are no longer able to speak to that individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going back to that morality statement, here we are, we're talking about individuals who I've always found it comical. They know their child, their parent, their whatever best friend is off screwing around doing something they know they shouldn't do. And yet they know they're going to get disfellowshipped when they meet with them because they refuse to change whatever life course they're on, which they themselves even know it's against the scriptures. And so then as soon as they find out, they're off doing stuff with them. Oh, let's go out to eat because you're not disfellowshipped yet. It's like, where is your morality? If you're actually doing what 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, meaning I'm not going to associate with you because you're doing something that's wrong, where's your morality where you have to have an organization that's telling you not to associate with them? You'd be just like the individual in Paul's day who, as he said, this rebuke given by the majority was sufficient. In other words, you'd be one of these ones that were not the majority who thought it was okay for him to go sleeping around with his step, parent.
You know what gets me about this disfellowship thing? There was an article. I want to know if I still have it. I'm going to see if I can find it in my screenshots or something, because there was an article, and just give me 1 second, because I was asking my friend about it. I was in the doctor's office when I found it, I think. Let's see. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. It's the 2012 Watchtower, April 15th. I just screenshotted on my phone. I was in the doctor's office. Okay, so talking about disfellowshipped people, I'm just going to read the paragraph. A young man had been disfellowshipped for over 10 years, during which time his father, mother, and 4 brothers quit mixing in company with him. At times, he tried to involve himself in their activities, but to their credit, each member of the family was steadfast in not having any contact with him. After he was reinstated, he said that he always missed the association with his family, especially at night when he was alone. But he admitted, had the family associated with him even a little, that small dose would have satisfied. However, because he did not receive even the slightest communication from any of his family, the burning desire to be with them became one motivating factor in his restoring his relationship with Jehovah. Well, think of that if you are ever tempted to violate God's command not to associate with your disfellowship relatives. So my point is that they write this article saying absolutely nothing, shun them, whatever.
That led to them coming back.
And yes, and now it's like, greet them, do all, very little communication, when it's all they needed was a small dose.
Even answering the phone, off that one video showed of that daughter
hypocrisy.
Calling the mom.
It's another, it's more hypocrisy.
All right, next one.
Okay, let me go back. Oh yeah, Dubtown.
What? Oh yeah,
Dubtown's back on. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm dying to. I guess Brian gets a beard.
So make sure you go watch that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Here's another funny one. My friends and family texted me inviting me to the memorial. I just sent them links of elders who were convicted of SAA.
That's a tit for tat right there.
Petty. No, I think that's pretty good.
Well, that's pretty funny though. Yeah, I mean, here you invite them, and it's like, well, here's why I ain't coming back.
Right.
Especially if you had children. And that you command that we trust the elders.
I don't know if I want to read this or not, but I'll just read it, I guess. I sent this to my dad and no response. Unbelievable update. My uncle, who's been inactive 30 plus years, reached out to me saying if they don't answer, it's my fault. Because apparently my tone wasn't respectful. Always my fault. I'm sad, fed up, and hurt. So we go back to that post that I read about. What is it? The narcissists. Yeah, exactly. Where they always blame you. And
again, we always look at it as the trait, not the individuals.
We have 17 people with us.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to our very first live. Leave a comment or chat or something. Say hi, anything. Okay, so this says, hi, I find it really sad that with the lightening of the restrictions about contacting people who have left the truth that none of you have reached out. Last time we spoke, I gave you 3 restrictions so you could have a relationship with us. 1, you don't talk bad about me. 2, you don't talk about religion. And 3, that I be present. You refused. I'm handing over an olive branch one last time, but the restrictions remain. If you accept, please respond to this text as I want it like last time in writing, your daughter. I won't say the person's name. Yeah, that's interesting to reach out, like throwing out that olive branch to that person.
So I didn't follow. So
the dad's, well, it says the uncle. I sent this to my dad, but the uncle reached out to this person, saying if they don't answer, it's my fault. And basically there was this 3 restrictions, like don't talk bad about me, don't talk about religion, like if you want a relationship, don't talk bad about me, don't talk about religion, and be present. You refuse. I'm handing over an olive branch. So they want a relationship, but there's like these restrictions, right? I gave you 3 restrictions so you could have a relationship with
Who
us.
did that? The JW or the non-JW?
Well, I assume it's the non-JW because this would be a non-JW post, right? Okay.
I understand.
Hi. Thank you. So I'm handing over an olive branch one last time, but the restrictions remain. I don't think, here's my thing about this with the restrictions. I think it's really healthy to have boundaries with people. And when you have certain restrictions with certain people, I think if they start crossing those restrictions or those boundaries, you have every right to say, bye-bye.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
No, and that's absolutely true. Just disrespecting those boundaries is, and I think I shouldn't say this gonna anyway, and for the inability to be able to edit it out. But witnesses in general don't really get those boundaries because there are so many boundaries that are set up that you can't even come close to, if that makes sense.
I don't know if this is what you mean, but it's like you can't develop your own boundaries because they already make them for you.
Yeah, I mean, how do you have those conversations? Because you're not allowed to have just trying to get someone into a spiritual conversation at a witness get together was next to impossible. It was so difficult.
Eat food and leave.
Yeah, it was like stuff it down your throat and be out the door because everybody was so afraid that they might speak their own opinion. They might be different. You have to be unified in thought. The unity is not going beyond the things written. That's what the unity would be. Anyway, but yeah, everybody's so afraid that the boundaries are already set. You don't ever get to cross those. A lot of those boundaries, I would think.
There was a TikTok that I watched. I don't know if we want to share that.
Well, you can explain what it was.
I shared it with you. Let's see. What was it? It was a couple days ago. It was that one guy, and he was sharing the I'm trying not to share names, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to share videos either.
C. Kelly makes a good point. It says that that's kind of how spiritually dead that faith is. And that's really, it really is, because you've just got somebody else dictating to you what it is you're going to believe.
Yeah.
So how can you build your own faith?
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'm glad you got up from your nap, Charles. Yeah, we're just going to pop on every once in a while and do this. So
we would like to have some sort of a schedule, but it's not easy for us.
We're not, I could show you. This is our vestibule right now and the packages that we have just out for this weekend. So
that was just from, like today and yesterday.
So we get slammed and there's nothing we can do about it. I probably should have picked that up. It'll probably glitch out or something.
Is everybody still here? Okay, I really want to find this because I thought it was a really good post. I have too much in here right now that I've saved the last couple of days.
We'll go to the next one, Reed. You can go back to that.
I don't know if I had any more, really.
Oh, really? I thought you had more.
This was just sort of funny. I read this a long time ago. When the circuit overseer said if Jesus was alive today, the position he would have in the organization would be circuit overseer. You're right.
Oh, gosh.
Because Jesus is all about position.
Well, not only that, his position would definitely be, let me see.
He's head of the congregation, but he'd be down the ladder.
That's right. Maybe they would twist that to say he who is least among you will be the greatest. So therefore, he would just be an average publisher. Because that would make him the greatest. I think that's the same reasoning they use about the governing body. Meeting with the CEO, when he made that statement that the governing body is the least of these my brothers. And I kind of laughed at him. The least of these my brothers, okay. And he goes, what, you don't think they're the least of these my brothers? I'm like, no, they get jet-setted around the world, adored by congregations wherever. I don't think that equates into the least of these my brothers.
Sorry, I'm taking so long to find this. I thought it was a really good share, kind of what we were talking about.
Just paraphrase it.
I don't know if I could remember it all, though, and I'd rather give the credit to the person. Well, you can keep talking about something. I'm going to dig for it.
I'm at a loss for words,
It was really
love.
good. That is incredible.
What?
You're at a loss for words. Okay, how do I do advanced search on TikTok?
I would have no clue.
I don't know. Maybe I just shared another time.
Yep. Well, that was a good trial run, though. We just wanted to read a few little posts, and again, anybody that wants to throw something out there, we can. Yeah.
If you have a question or something, put it in the chat right now. Maybe we can do a real quick commentary on a question or something.
Will you try to find that?
While I've tried to find it, yeah. Videos.
Yeah, I do find it kind of amazing that there's so many things that are floating out there in the conspiracy world right now with witnesses about what they're going to do next, and it almost seems like, they've made enough changes that it almost seems like everything is up for speculation to people. I don't know that it is, but there's a lot of chatter about them changing, just having a whole rebrand, whatever that means. Obviously, they're trying to please the governments. I don't know that the money that they're getting from Norway is that big of a drop in the bucket. I mean, I don't know how many millions they get from them, but I would say it's more damaging for all the people that they're losing, personally. But everybody always speculates, is it going to be birthdays that's next?
I don't know. The birthdays thing kind of...
Because that scripture in Job where it says that he had a family for each one of his children based on their day of birth, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I think, as you were saying, with birthdays, it's
well, there's so many things that can be. Oh, it's over 50 million per year for Norway, I think.
Oh, is it really? That's a couple bucks.
Yeah.
That's a couple bucks then. Maybe it is that big of a deal then.
The thing with birthdays is it's like when I was
That's what
so
Kelly said that, by the way.
Yep. Critical thinking is off the table. Robots with the Bible. Yeah, critical thinking's off the table is right. But it's so funny because even in their literature, I mean, their scriptures talk about it, but they thinking ability or whatever, but even their literature, they'll say you should have thinking ability as long as it's our thinking ability.
Selective thinking ability is what it is. So in other words, if you're Catholic, we want you to really think critically about some of the things they teach. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with Jim, our SKE elder. We're at the back of the hall. And I said, made that statement of, so you grow up Catholic and you get told not to do this and this and this because here's the scriptures that back it up. For example, the ones in Timothy that talk about, for example, forbidding things to be eaten, which God created to be eaten with thanksgiving. So something like that. And you go, okay, well, you measure it against the scriptures and you go, the traditions or the teachings aren't measuring up to the Bible. And so then I was talking to Jim and saying, so now you're saying we've got to follow these men. That's the idea then, that you want us to tell that Bible study. Well, yeah, you take them over to chapter 10 of the teach book or whatever it was that talks about the organization. It's like, that doesn't work, Jim. You can't go stop following this organization based on tradition and authority. And then once you're in this, now we want you to turn off that critical thinking and just follow this organization. It just doesn't work that way.
I found it.
Okay.
I found it. I'm going to play it because I can't read what he's saying, obviously. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. But this is on TikTok, and it was a comment. The comment says, what's right now can change later. It's still their choice. And if the end of the day, but do you think growing up with good values is a bad thing? Okay, so this is the response.
Realize waking up from your indoctrination is that you weren't actually taught good values within the organization. You're not taught to develop your own moral compass to determine what is right or wrong. You're taught to defer to the organization to allow them to make decisions on your behalf as to what is right and wrong and moral and immoral. You're taught that the love and the relationships that you have should be conditional, and that those conditions should be that those people blindly accept and continue to parrot whatever the opinions of the governing body happen to be at any given time. And you are taught to try and be kind and generous to people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, but that is with the hope that your good behavior will somehow convince them that Jehovah's Witnesses have the right religion and they will convert. I can tell you how many times I've heard witnesses complaining about the fact that they had befriended someone and that they had done so much for them, but that person still doesn't want a Bible study, and they don't understand why that is. Because the good things that they were doing and the friendship that they were forming with that person wasn't done out of genuine interest. It was done with the expectation and hope that that person would join the religion. In fact, a lot of the good behavior that we were taught to display as witnesses was specifically so that we didn't bring reproach on Jehovah's name, and that we could, convince people that Jehovah's Witnesses were very well behaved, thus we must have the true religion. We were taught that independent thinking was a bad thing, and that disagreeing with the opinions of the leadership was prideful and arrogant and evil. And to an extent, we were taught to defer our moral compass to the Bible, but like I said before, it was essentially deferring it to the governing body and whatever their interpretation of the Bible happened to be at any given time. And we were also taught that if we saw or experienced abuse, to keep our mouths shut and let Jehovah handle it in his own time, which essentially meant let the organization handle it or not handle it and just sweep it under the rug and demonize you for ever wanting to speak about it or to warn others about the way that they handle cases of abuse. For every good value that the organization put forward, they had like 10 bad ones. And none of the actually good values that the organization puts forward, even if they have ulterior motives for doing those things, are unique to the organization. Most of them are the kind of things that you would learn from watching like a child's cartoon. Don't steal, be nice, share, cooperate. None of the good things that they teach are unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, and unfortunately the bad far outweighs the good. So
I hope you all could hear that. I just thought that was, this person had some really good points as far as, I think it was even brought out in our chat, like you just hand your brain over.
You'll decide what is the terminology about. I'm trying to remember the phrase now, and it's escaping my mind. Anyway, this is what you don't get to do when you get edit.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple more comments on here.
Yeah, there it is. Job celebrated his children's set day.
Mm-hmm.
Some traditions on Bible Hub says birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Or translations. Yeah, and that's true. And a day of birth, it could be debatable. I think what Tiffany likes to say or often says about that. Go ahead.
What do I say?
About the traditions that are wrapped into it.
Well, it's like, understanding that you have a day, your rotation around the sun, so to speak. And it's like that's your birthday, or that's
unless
your
you're flat earther, then it's different. We don't want to get into that debate.
No, we're not talking about flat earth. We're not talking about flat earth. But it's like the things that go along with birthdays, like the cake and the candles and there's just so many things. I saw a post that said, instead of saying birthdays, why don't we say like that's your day, you're going to level up to the next level. And I thought that was kind of comical, because it's like some people could really consider that to be, and I'm being serious, but it's like they look at their age as something to be leveled up, you know, like it's a good thing. But, you know, we've seen people that are older. I have to be very careful how I say this, older, and they don't make the best decisions. So just because you're older doesn't necessarily mean you're making good decisions.
And personally, I don't see the big deal. Again, I grew up in the world, so to speak, celebrating birthdays. I never thought it was a big deal. But even now, my whole idea is I don't let, I made a statement today. I was talking with a buyer, a customer, and he was talking about, you know, he's getting ready to retire and his body's doing this or that, you know, he's 50, whatever he is. And I'm like, I do not let age be, it doesn't even enter my lexicon. I mean, I won't even talk about it. I don't discuss it. It's not a big deal. I'll joke and say my sins are catching up to me, but absolutely pay no attention to age whatsoever. And I related the story of a guy that was 101 years old, and he was working for the fairgrounds. He didn't need the money. It's just the fair came. He wanted to do it. And so then he went out and he did it. And they interviewed him, and he said, they asked him why he was doing this. And he says, well, all my friends have retired. They've died decades ago, you know? So what's the point of life if you're just going to quit living? So that's sort of my mentality. And I think birthdays goes into that. It's just a constant reminder. The years fly by fast enough as it is. And people say, oh, it's for the kids. Well, how long are you kids? I'm not finished yet. How long are the kids? Or how long are it's for the kids. How long are they kids? So, I mean, there's always that. And then for me as well, I think about the principles of well, I mean, all you got to do is go, if for a real Satanist, I'm not talking about just some accusational, but a real Satanist, birthdays are the most important holiday because it's about me. And a lot of people get all bent out of the shape. They think it's demon worshiping, whatever. A real Satanist is about me first. So the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The Satanist's golden rule is do unto others as they do unto you. So in other words, it's not just ignoring the other person, but yourself comes first. And so when you actually look into Satanism, again, it's not about, you know, devil worshiping and horns and whatever else, but it's just about putting yourself first. And a lot of times that's what goes into these holidays. And that's what goes into, whereas Jesus said the day of death, he went along with that. He said to memorialize his death. He didn't worry about when he was born. Let's face it, every horrible person on this earth was born. But how did they live up to it in the end? How did their life turn out to be worth celebration in the end? Hitler had a birthday, yet how many people are celebrating his life course? Not very many, you know. So that's kind of the whole idea is that going back to Proverbs, the day of death is better than the day of birth. So now I'm off my soapbox.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I get on a run. I got to finish.
No, it's fine. I just want to say, like, I think it has to do with the celebration because there's always like a fine line that you can cross. Just like I was talking to my friend the other day and I'm like, you know, it's sort of like with, and hopefully I'm not going to ruffle any feathers, but like with Christmas, there's a lot of magic things that are laced with Christmas, but yet there's some things with the winter solstice or like the winter time that has nothing to do with magic, has nothing to do with Christmas. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you know, the way that we get
blend it all
the
up.
way we get hoarfrost around here. So for example, the town we live in, they had a what was called a
like a tour of homes.
Yeah, it was a tour of homes, but it based on Christmas, and they wanted us to participate. We said, well, we won't because it's Christmas.
Change the name,
but change it to Winter Wonderland. We're all for that, so they changed it. We joined, so we did it.
And for many years, they kept it just winter themed. Yep, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
But that's a good statement. That's Kelly asks
we've
there.
Got some more here.
Do you make a big deal of your wedding anniversary? We don't even consider.
We've never celebrated our anniversary. It's just our personal choice to do that. And I think part of it is other than when we lived in Idaho before we moved to North Dakota, I had a job working for a photographer. But when we moved here, and we've been here for almost 19 years, we've been together every single day. And if we decided to take a day, we just do. We've been self-employed and we just do. It's not like we need a day to be like, let's go off and do something. If I'm not like into vacationing anyways. I don't like to vacation. I don't like
She's
doing
into
those things.
staycations.
I'm into staycation. So if I like just lock the door, we're staying home, I'm not doing a thing. That's kind of our time. So like we're always together. Yeah, we're happy together every day. Exactly. Exactly. We had some more comments in here and I'm so thrilled. Hello, Miss Lady Blue. Thank you for being here. Somebody was healed by a comment somebody else made. I'm glad you're connecting here. Allowing women and to be ministerial servants and elders.
I don't see that one.
I don't know if I see that either. You know, I wonder if there'll be some legality to that in certain cases, though.
That's true.
You know, like there was a complaint about, especially with like sexual abuse going on in the organization. That may be something like they'll have an elderette come on board. Ooh, wouldn't elders' wives love
Jezebel.
that? Ooh, that would be so interesting.
Oh man, that'll be cause some backlash.
If you didn't think you have dominant women in the organization, the congregation, if that happens, you definitely will have that.
I thought it was so hilarious. I walked up to an elder once at our hall and I asked him a question, and his wife was known for being we like the woman. Yeah. Personally, we like her, but very elderette.
She'd help anybody, yep. Even if you needed it or not.
Anyway, I walked up and I asked him some question. He goes, I don't know about that. Or I don't know. I'm not going to answer, basically. And his wife is right there and she pipes up and answers. And he turns to his wife, looks back at me, and he says, well, if the elder doesn't know, just ask his wife. So yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's no value. I know there's value in women. I'm just saying there's a lot of women that would love to jump on the board and take charge.
And so they may have a role possibly, but yeah. But I don't know if it would be, they'd have to come up with something new other than MS. Just the same way they transitioned the MTS school to SKE school, right?
I don't know.
They would have to call it something else.
But I agree with it to some degree. I don't think that here's what I'll say. I think that there should be more. How do I say this? There should be more people being checked than there is in the organization.
Well, that's an organizational problem to begin with.
It's every corporate
authority. Yeah, that's
right. It's every corporate. People need to be checked, and sometimes, in a situation like I said, especially if you get into legalities, they may want women in some sort of a role like that.
It reminds me, though, in just talking about this general corporate attitude, it had to be on TikTok. She's got TikTok. I don't. So we lay in bed and she TikToks.
You have TikTok.
Oh, I guess I do.
I
do, but I barely ever use it. I posted a few things. I get like 2 views and I was like, wow, that was great. Public views. Maybe my wife sees it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
this
TikTok, I'm my biggest fan. Anyway. This TikTok, this guy says, when your HR tells you, come into our office, or anybody in leadership says, come into our office if you're having any problems, that's your sign. That's your sign. So that way, when you walk in and you say, hey, we're having this problem out here, that's their sign and your sign that you are their problem.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing when they say that, like, hey, anything you have, if you got a problem, you can come to me. My door's wide open.
Go talk to Jim as a friend.
And as soon as you walk in
Tamara
there,
said, his wife, later they testified, she testified, she was one of our witnesses in our disfellowshipping as a precursor was an elder's wife, an elder's fleshly sister, and the elder's buddy that came to that congregation because the one elder told him, if you want to move up the ladder quick, move out to our little congregation so you can, get your elder's privileges back, because he had a sexting scandal. So those were our 2 witnesses our 3 witnesses in our disfellowshipping.
Yeah, we were really screwed. Well, I don't know. Did you guys like this live? It was kind of just a random thing we just said it the other day, like maybe we should do a live every once in a while, just so that way we're not away from YouTube, because there's just impromptu, right? You just push play and go and read a few things. And we had like a nice little group with you guys.
Next, make sure you attend all of our meetings and don't stray from what we say.
No.
We'll start our own little group.
No. Life is good. Good.
Well, enjoy your evening, guys.
Yes.
And
for sure.
It was fun. We'll do it again.
Yep. We're gonna sign off. I have some things I have to get done before tomorrow. Monday is a work day.
School day.
Work day. Okay. Chad and Tiff's home church. Oh no. We are not starting a church.
We would every
No.
church is a cult. Every church ends up being having cult followers. I don't like the terminology of a cult being the entity, because everything is a cult. Everything
Takes
is
a responsibility away from you as a person, perhaps, right?
Yep. That's right.
Maybe
Anyway.
think about it that way. Okay, so hopefully we can maybe start this as a little series.
So you'll see us pop on at different times here and again.
Yeah. No, we're not closing out in prayer. This is not a church.
Say
your
up.
own prayer.
Say up, as we would say. Much
Bye.
love, guys.